Bureaucrats are as old as the Bible. Hey, I am Chuck the Bureaucrat, and there is one particular Bible story that always reminds me of bureaucrats and political leaders and that competition over the distribution of resources that I say lies at the heart of bureaucracy. It's a story from the book of Genesis about what happens to Joseph of the many-colored coat after he gets sold into slavery in Egypt. Through a series of ups and downs, he lands in prison on a false sexual assault accusation, and while there, he demonstrates a knack for interpreting dreams. Not long after, the Pharaoh has a dream that 7 fat cows come up out of the Nile and they start to eat grass. But then 7 skinny cows come up out of the Nile and they eat the 7 fat cows. But the skinny cows, they stay just as bony and emaciated as they were in the first place, even after eating the fat cows. Nobody can interpret this dream to the Pharaoh's satisfaction, so Joseph gets called in and he interprets the dream to mean that Egypt is going to have 7 years of plenty and 7 years of want. A famine so horrific that it will destroy any benefits generated by those 7 good years. Now, there are 2 reasons that, as a bureaucrat, I love this story. It is a warning for anybody who's going to be leading an organization for more than, say, 24 to 36 months. Number 1, the good times do not last. It is not particularly prophetic to say winter is coming, because hard times always follow good times. Joseph's interpretation has always struck me as a bit of administrative sleight of hand, because what he did was he connected a fundamental economic reality with the Pharaoh's dream. But Joseph did not stop there. He proposed a policy solution. Essentially, he recommended a 20% tax on the harvests during the good years. And that is the second part of this story that makes it timeless advice for policymakers. Do not squander the surplus of the good times, but instead use it as a cushion against the hard times. Easy to say, more difficult to execute. But you guys know that one of my favorite books is Jared Diamond's Collapse. It's a book about how societies set themselves up for disaster. But here's the interesting thing. They don't collapse because of the decisions they make in hard times. They collapse because of the decisions that are made in the good times. Essentially, societies make decisions as if the good times will never end. In a classic example, populations will expand during the good times just because there's so much to eat. But when the famine comes, all those extra mouths to feed makes the famine that much deeper and more tragic. So if you're in the game of national security for the long haul, well, then recognize the good times, use the surplus of the good times wisely, and remember that no matter how much political appointees wish it weren't so, the hard times are coming. And if we're going to be successful, it's vital that the organization doesn't collapse as soon as the hard times hit. And now, if you want to see another reason that the bureaucrats are so resistant to change, watch this video.